You know, after spending more than 80 years walking this planet, I've come to a surprisingly unsettling conclusion. Much of what we were taught about maintaining good health wasn't just misleading, it was completely backwards. For decades, people forced themselves into strict eating rules, stayed up when their bodies were begging for rest, felt ashamed for slowing down, and avoided foods that actually brought them comfort. I once believed all those rules too, but at 83, when my doctor reviewed my latest lab work last year, he stared at me in absolute disbelief. My blood pressure, cholesterol levels, heart rhythm, memory, and even my bone strength were in better condition than many of the patients he sees in their 60s. He told me he'd never witnessed results like mine at this age. What stunned him even more was when I described how I actually live. The truth is, the routines that keep me healthy now are the exact habits older generations were told to avoid. For most of our lives, these behaviors were labeled harmful, lazy, or irresponsible. Yet new research from leading institutions like Harvard, Tufts University, and the National Institute on Aging clearly shows the opposite. The so-called bad habits we were warned about are actually helping people my age stay mentally sharp, physically capable, and emotionally grounded well into our later years. So today, I want to reveal the 5 bad habits that have kept me healthier than nearly everyone I know. What I'm about to share might challenge everything you've believed for decades, but if you allow yourself to see with fresh eyes, you may realize that your body's natural signals were wiser than the old rules we grew up with. The first habit is something simply giving myself permission to rest in the afternoon. When I was younger, I thought taking a nap was something only children or unmotivated people did. I fought my body's desire to rest, forcing myself through that sluggish feeling around early afternoon. I'd sip another tea, take a walk, or push through chores, insisting that strong adults don't nap. But eventually, I stopped resisting. I began lying down for half an hour each day, and the transformation was undeniable. My thinking became clearer, I stayed calmer through the evenings, and that heavy afternoon fog simply disappeared. Later, I discovered that Harvard researchers found that older adults who nap between half an hour and 1 hour have dramatically lower risks of heart disease. That's not coincidence, it's biology. Our internal clock naturally dips in the early afternoon. When we ignore that rhythm, stress hormones rise and the heart works harder. But when we honor it, the brain resets, memory strengthens, and the heart finally gets a break. A friend of mine, Estelle, who resisted naps for years because she feared it made her look old, now rests every afternoon and says she feels more alive. The key, I learned, is timing and length. A short nap in early afternoon restores the body without harming nighttime sleep. And most importantly, there is no shame in resting. Every creature on Earth obeys its natural rhythms except humans. Once I embraced rest instead of fighting it, my health followed. The second habit is returning to full-fat dairy foods. For half a century, we were warned that fat was dangerous. We were told to avoid butter and whole milk, and instead load our kitchens with low-fat products. But when food companies removed fat, they replaced it with sugar and chemicals. And instead of becoming healthier, society grew heavier, sicker, and more diabetic. About 10 years ago, I abandoned that outdated advice and returned to real, unprocessed dairy. My energy stabilized, my cravings disappeared, and my doctor watched my numbers improve instead of decline. Later, I learned that Tufts University followed thousands of seniors and found that those who ate full-fat dairy had significantly lower risk of diabetes. It makes perfect sense. Fat slows digestion, balances blood sugar, boosts vitamin absorption, supports the brain, and keeps you satisfied longer. Meanwhile, all those light products did nothing but harm us. A friend of mine, Terence, who spent decades struggling on low-fat diets, finally switched back to full-fat foods and his blood sugar improved in just weeks. Real food nourishes, fake food confuses the body. And after a lifetime of overthinking nutrition, I finally returned to simplicity and my body thanked me for it. The third habit is one that shocked nearly everyone who knows me. I drink several cups of regular coffee every day. I cannot count how many people warned me that coffee would ruin my nerves, damage my heart, or destroy my sleep. But I loved my daily coffee too much to give it up. Over time, science proved what my instincts already know, that coffee, when consumed without sugary additives, is incredibly protective for the brain and body. Research from Johns Hopkins shows that older adults who drink several cups of coffee a day have dramatically lower risk of Alzheimer's disease. Coffee is packed with antioxidants and powerful compounds that protect memory, reduce inflammation, and support longevity. I've seen it in real life too. A woman I know from Detroit began drinking 4 cups daily for her brain health, and even her memory tests improved. The key is moderation, avoiding sugar, and timing your coffee earlier in the day so it doesn't interfere with sleep. I sip mine black or with a splash of cream, and it keeps me clear, sharp, and engaged with the world. The drink we once feared turned out to be one of the strongest allies for aging minds. The 4th habit is staying up later and sleeping on my body's natural schedule. For years, I tried to force myself into early bedtimes because we were told early sleepers are healthier. But lying awake staring at the ceiling did nothing but frustrate me. Eventually, I stopped forcing sleep. I allowed myself to stay awake until my body naturally felt ready, and to my surprise, I slept more deeply and woke up more refreshed than ever. Research eventually confirmed what I learned by listening to my body. Deep, high-quality sleep matters far more than an early bedtime. Many older adults naturally shift toward later sleep cycles, and fighting that rhythm creates stress and shallow rest. Once I embraced my natural schedule: late nights, peaceful evenings, and uninterrupted sleep, my health, mood, and clarity improved. Quiet nighttime hours became a kind of therapy for me. Instead of guilt, I found peace. And the final habit is simple but, in my opinion, the most powerful of all. I laugh at myself every single day. I don't scold myself for slowing down or forgetting things. I laugh at life's little mishaps. That laughter keeps my spirit light. Science shows that laughter lowers blood pressure, strengthens the immune system, releases endorphins, and protects the heart. I've watched grief, stress, and loneliness lift from people simply because they allowed joy back into their bodies. At this age, life becomes much easier when you stop treating yourself like a problem to fix and start treating each day like a gift to enjoy. Now that you know my 5 so-called bad habits: napping, enjoying full-fat foods, drinking real coffee, sleeping on my own rhythm, and laughing at myself, you may notice something. None of them are about restriction, guilt, or force. They are about listening, trusting, and cooperating with the body instead of fighting it. Real health doesn't come from punishing yourself. It comes from understanding yourself. When my doctor told me he was shocked by my results, I explained that I don't chase perfection. I simply follow what makes me feel alive, rested, and at peace. Maybe that's the real secret to aging well, and not resisting life, but flowing with it. If you are in your later years and you've been told it's too late to change, don't believe it. Sometimes the most healing choices are the ones we were told to avoid. Life becomes lighter when you stop living by fear and start living by wisdom. At my age, I've learned this: you don't stay young by fighting time, you stay young by staying awake to joy, curiosity, and your body's true voice. And if that means breaking a few old rules, then I say break them proudly.